What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Accidental Overlander, this special review edition of this Coleman Fire Captain Hyperflame 2-burner stove. The measurements of this stove are 23 by 15 by 10, can go all the way up to 31.5 inches with its legs, and comes in at 13 pounds. And each of these 2 burners puts out an impressive 11,000 BTUs per burner. Now don't ask me what BTUs means, but it still sounds impressive. So when I first started getting into camping and going down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos, one of the first things I bought was this stove. Now I'm not always a solo camper. Sometimes it's me and another, or the whole family of 4 going together. So the criteria I had when I was buying a stove was I wanted it to have 2 burners. I wanted it to kind of be bigger so we could fit bigger pots and pans. And then I wanted it to also have legs because I didn't want to have to put it on a table or in the back of the car. I wanted to be able to put the stove wherever I wanted to, and then I could work around that. So this stove checked all those boxes. I have a video on how to use this stove and probably other Coleman stoves like it. I'll leave that link in the description below if you want to check that out, but they are pretty easy to use. So we're gonna go get into what I love about this stove, what I dislike about this stove, and if I would buy it again. So when you look up this stove, it costs around $90 to purchase, 80 to 90 bucks. They have another similar stove like this, except it doesn't have legs, and that one costs about $150. And besides not having the legs, I couldn't really see a difference between the two. So first, what I love about the stove. So I know I mentioned I was looking for legs, but I love the legs on this stove. I can put it wherever I want. It doesn't have to be taking up space at anywhere else in camp. The legs are adjustable. There's adjustable pieces on the bottom of the legs, so to make it more stabilized, which is nice. I also love the fact that there are no sidewalls to it. So when I put pots and pans on here, I can put the handles out anywhere. I don't need any of those pots that are just circles or pans that are just circles. I can bring regular cast iron pans that have the handles on them, or I could bring a pan from home if I need to that has a handle, because I don't need to worry about the handle coming out here or not having enough space. So this thing fits regular size pans with no problem. And when I have the whole family out here, that is very necessary, because I couldn't just do everything on a little pan, because I have a big belly, I like to eat a lot, and then growing kids, they like to eat a lot too. So that is a huge plus. With it not having the sidewalls, they say that because it has, you know, wind protection technology. And I have used it one time in a very windy day. One time Izzy and I went out, and super windy, and it had no problem starting up and cooking our food. So I've only really tested it once in wind that I would consider to be a problem with other stoves, and it did fine. So if I ever do come across wind where it doesn't perform adequately, I will probably let you guys know somehow. So make sure you're following this channel. I also love the 11,000 BTUs that come out of each burner. Not that I know what that means, but I do know that it cooks very fast. If you need to boil water, it will boil your water super quickly, and I love that. Another great part about this stove is these pop up pretty easily. So when it's time to clean it, it's a very easy stove to clean. I'm not having to try to get my fingers into little nooks and crannies that are hard to reach. I just pop these off, wipe it down, pop them right back in, and then we are good to go. I could go on and on about the things that I love about this stove, but let's get into some of the cons that probably are more important to you, because it does what it's supposed to do. It cooks fast. Let's get into some of the things that are a pain in the butt about it. First off, it's big. It is not an easy stove to store. When you watch a lot of people's YouTube videos, it's all about having your one camping box putting all your camping stuff in it. So when you're ready to camp, you just grab your box and go out there. I have a huge Plano case that this used to have a handle on it, but with the handle, it wouldn't even fit in the case. So I took the handle off, so now it will fit in that Plano box, but if I put it in there, it'll take up all the space and I won't be able to fit very much else in there. So I end up just kind of stacking it somewhere in the back of the car. And even with the handle off, when the legs are all tucked under it, these things pop out still. And that's one of the problems, is it's not just this flat stove that can fit nicely into anywhere. These will always pop out. So you have an extra 2 to 3 inches that you have to worry about, which you wouldn't if you just had a stove that didn't have legs on it. Another con about this stove, where I've gotten a little better with my time and use of it, it's really hard just to get a simmer going with it. So you want to boil something super fast, awesome, it will do that easily. If you want to put something on a simmer so it doesn't burn, that's going to take a little bit of work. You can kind of finagle or cheat your way to make it go lower, but I almost find that even when I put it on a lower setting, it's still cooking pretty quickly. So that is a problem. You got to keep an eye on your food so you don't let it burn. There is a way where you can almost turn it off, and then I just relight it while it's off, and then I can get it close to a simmer, which I've shown in other videos. But that in itself is sort of a pain in the butt. Sometimes you might need a lighter just to get it to set back up so you can get that simmer. So it's not impossible, but it takes a lot more work to get it to simmer than it does to get it to straight boil or burn your steak or hot dogs or whatever you seem to be cooking that day. This isn't a huge con, but when you get to the igniter switch, it's not super easy to push. So the legs can be a little bit wobbly while you're pushing it. I've never had a problem when I've been cooking anything on here, but when you're trying to light the igniter switch, you might have to bring your hand around here just to hold it so you don't tip the whole thing over. So you wouldn't want to be holding a baby while you're trying to light the igniter switch. It could prove to be a pain in the butt. Another con I have is I don't know what you call it. There's a thing on the back that when you hook the propane tank up to it, it'll hold your 1 pound propane tank so it doesn't get a lot of weight going on it. I wish that thing locked into place, because it'll kind of just move out and forward sort of easy, but it just makes it hard when I'm storing it in the back. I wish it just locked to the back, so when I'm putting it in the car or when I'm moving it, it's not kind of wobbling out and I'm not afraid to, you know, punch a hole in my seats or something like that. One of the last cons I have about this is the gauges are opposite. And what I mean by that is when you're cooking at your stoves at your house or anything else, usually one way goes up, one way goes down. Whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise, that part doesn't matter so much, but they're universal. So I know when I turn it this way, it's gonna either go down, and then when I turn it this way, the burner's gonna go up. These gauges are the exact opposite. And even with using this quite a few times, if I'm cooking 2 things at once, sometimes I just forget. So when I have one turned all the way up and I'm cooking another thing and I'm trying to put that to a simmer, so I'm kind of doing the opposite of what I would think I would be doing on this side, and I'm trying to put it down to a simmer, I'm actually turning it up higher. And I've done that a few times, and I've, you know, burned some things because I'm going, man, what's going on? And I'm realizing that what I thought was simmering is actually full-blown heat. So I don't know why they did that. It's just annoying more than anything. But yeah, if you're gonna put gauges on a stove, make them the same. I don't care what way you have to turn them. That part doesn't matter to me. But yeah, I want to know, you know, my right and left side of the brain, they want to do the same things. They don't want to do the opposite things. So that is going to wrap up my review on the first camping stove I ever bought. And if I had to buy it again, I would. I love this thing. It comes on every camping trip I've ever been to. So I don't always cook a meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but I always end up using it at least once or twice while I'm out camping. It's great to have a hot meal. It's reliable. It's easy to clean after I'm done. So yes, I love it. I always use the legs. I put it wherever I want. I just love being able to cook where I want, and I like how it cooks. Even with the things that are annoying about it, I can get over those. And so yes, I would purchase this again. So, and if you're interested in buying this, I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to purchase it. If you have any questions that you want to ask me about it, feel free to do so. I always love answering your questions. That's why I'm here. And I appreciate you watching this video. I hope it helped you out if you wanted to buy this thing. And we will see you next time.